Alright guys, my name is Rachel Delk and I am doing a video on our May Spotlight books, which are nonfiction. Now when I was a kid, I was like, nonfiction is totally lame. I would rather read anything that's fantasy or mystery or kind of something more adventurous than anything that was nonfiction. Now as an adult, sometimes I like some nonfiction if it's pretty well written. And I do really like historical fiction, but I don't know, nonfiction is just not my favorite. But I love our nonfiction paper pie books. They are so fun. They're so good for kids. And I'm going to start with some of my son's favorites. He is my oldest. He is 8 years old. And honestly, some of these are kind of the reason why we got into paper pie. So first of all, let's work at some of our Bear Grylls books. This is the Outdoor Skills Handbook. There's dangers and emergencies, dangerous animals, campfire cooking, all sorts of things like that. So this one is kind of definitely like an outdoors like resource manual. It is really, really fun. There's also this survival camp. So there's 6 different ones of these. And if you got this one would have a lot of the same information as these. So, but this one is a little bit more expensive. So, and this one has some like regional information too. So these are going to be more topical. Like this one is dangers and emergencies, how to like contact people, like emergency medical stuff, all that really fun stuff for kiddos. Like if you have an outdoorsy kid, get the Bear Grylls books. They're super fun. But then this one is like African adventures. This one has like some history in it too, some geography, things like that. How to ride an elephant in case you ever find yourself in a situation where you need to ride an elephant. How to use like a pickaxe, like all sorts of really crazy things. So I really love these for outdoorsy kids who like, even if they're not super interested in reading, this one's really good. And I think that's another really cool thing about our nonfiction books is that they, for kids who don't like to read, you can find one that's super topical and they would love that one. So this one is part of our biography series. So this is The Extraordinary Life of Neil Armstrong. And this one is in colored ink, and they do that. All the books in this series are going to be a different color, but they do that because it's supposed to be easier for kids who have reading difficulties to be able to read it. You're also never going to find a book that, or a sentence that like starts on one page, you have to flip the page, and it ends on another page. You're not going to find that in these books. These are designed to be easy to read, and they're biographies. So that is really super cool. Some of the fonts are different because breaking those up, it makes it a little bit easier to read. And so all sorts of really cool things like that. This is Time Traveler. This is a great one for homeschoolers. This one might be more historical fiction, but there is a lot of good history things in it as well. So it has kind of a overview of, like, it goes from, let me see, medieval times, Viking Age, Roman world, and ancient Egypt. So this one is a little bit more, like I said, historical fiction because there is like a kid who goes through it, but still a really great history type book for your kiddos. For littles, this is a really good one. This is life size, and this is one of my best sellers for preschool age, even like early elementary. Every time you see the word life size, you're going to have an animal that is that actual size. So here's an elephant's toe. I like to hold this up to a kiddo who's kind of small and be like, whose foot's bigger, yours or that elephant? But then you also have these hummingbirds. At the end, it also has, here's a giraffe. It has a scale of, compared to this animal, this is how many of these books it would take. So like a polar bear is 8 life-size books long. So if you have several of these, and there are about, I think, 5 or 6 in this series, if you have several of them lined up, you can be like, oh, that's how big that polar bear is. So that's pretty cool. We also have 100 Things to Know About. This is a very cool fact book. with some really interesting things I did not know. There's also 100 things to know about space, 100 things to know about animals. There's a lot to this series. How to make a book. Now, this one is so cool because it's like making this book in the book. It talks about how things go to an idea and it goes through a publisher and then how it's printed. It's like all of these things from like author's very first idea all the way to when it's sold. So there it is. There's that book. And so all the way to where it makes it into your home or into a store or anything like that. So if you have a kid who's interested in publishing or interested in writing or anything like that, this one is really good. And because it is nonfiction, it has a wider range. You could use this for a little kid as a storybook, or you can use it for an older kid of here's an overview of the whole process, beginning to end. A lot of our favorites, if you've ever seen me do a party, you've seen these books. These are the Shine-a-Light books. They're all nonfiction, and you get to read them with a flashlight, or you can hold it up to a lamp. You can hold it up to the sun. You'll have a full color page and a black and white page. If you shine a flashlight behind this page, you can actually see through it. I don't have a flashlight with me, but they're actually like super, super cool. So when you shine it through, you'll be able to see like those orcas through it. And so these are really cool. There's actually several different ones in this series. And there's some in Spanish. There's some that are like geographical, like this one. But then also there's like in the library, in the hospital, in the garage, things like that. So super fun. One of our favorites is Secrets of the Vegetable Garden as well. Then we also have America's National Parks. If you are a person who loves to travel like us, like our family, this one is a really great one. It kind of gives you a broad overview of some of our national parks, but it's also just like a really great like coffee table book. Set it out, leave it out, let your kids peruse it, or even some older people. It's a really good book for adults even, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful book. Then we have I like art. What jobs are there? There's also I like space. I like outdoors. I like sports. I like theater, I think is one. And it's like, what jobs are there? And it goes through like the jobs that are not like your automatic thinker. Like, I like art. What jobs are there? Furniture maker. Art museum curator. There's the introduction. There's a game designer, a game artist, an advertising art director, graphic design, a photographer, art teacher, architect. So it has some things that are like very artsy, and it'd be a really good for like probably middle schoolers or upper elementary, as they're starting to think of, I'm kind of good at this and I enjoy doing it. How could I make that into a career? And so it gives some information about like the education that you need, how you might get into that field, things like that. So for kids who are interested in something, you know, that doesn't have a job necessarily assigned to it, you could kind of maybe find something that really fits your kiddo with this series. We also love our Lift the Flap. And when we did the Lift the Flap books in January, I mentioned about the Lift the Flap books being really good for kiddos who don't love to read. And that's the cool thing about these nonfiction books, is that very often you may have a kiddo who doesn't love to read, but they'll look at these and they'll get the benefit of reading without having to read a whole narrative, a whole book, a whole chapter book, whatever it is. They can go through here and they can pick a few of the flaps that look really interesting to them. They can read through those, they can pick a few pages, and then they can be done. And that's okay. They've been reading, they're going to get the benefit, they're going to exercise their brain doing that. And they've maybe learned something new, or they've found something interesting, or they just made like a really great connection with a book. And then they think maybe I do like reading. We also have our Peek Inside series. This is kind of a Lift the Flap books for littles, without them being super fragile. So this one, you can see through the pages. Our Lift the Flap books, they're a little bit sturdier than some of our other Lift the Flap books. And they're just really fun. Not all of these are nonfiction. Some of them are more like a fairy tale, but I really like our fairy tale books. They are sturdy board books. This one is nonfiction. We have a couple of nonfiction ones of these. And so for kiddos who are now interested in outdoors, or like one of them is snowy places, spring, there's seasons. Our Peek Inside is one of my favorite series for preschoolers. And then last but not least, if you're a homeschooler like us, we have a lot of really good homeschool resources. This is History in the USA, and it has this really cool thick board pages, and it's kind of how the states joined the Union. Now, there's a lot missing from U.S. history in this book, but it's a really great overview. So my oldest is in 2nd grade right now. We kind of have used these books just kind of to peruse. We've read a few pages. I promise you we've not read the whole thing, but just kind of to get them a taste into kind of U.S. history and stuff like that. So definitely a good option. We also have some encyclopedias. We have an atlas. We have some really good resources for homeschoolers. So if you have a question, you're looking for something specific, let me know. But then also just check out the Spotlight link for all of our nonfiction books. So this video was a little bit longer than my other Spotlight ones, but we have a lot of really great nonfiction books that are really good for engaging their minds, helping them learn something new, introducing them to a topic that maybe they've not heard about, or maybe that they already love, but there's just more information. So let me know how you love to use nonfiction books for your kiddos, whether they love nonfiction books or they don't. Maybe they can find a good one this month. So thanks for watching, guys.